Hey everyone, I'm Sandra and today I'm going to be filming a book haul for you. I have some qualms about filming a book haul after talking in my 2020 goals about wanting to read from my TBR. Or from the books that I already own, sorry. But some of these books were actually purchased at the time of me filming that video, or like before, so they're technically included. And I think one or two books might have been borrowed, some might have been bought for me, probably one borrowed, one bought for me. But anyway, let's just jump into the book haul. So the first book I'm going to speak about is The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. I have already filmed one of my recent reads where I speak about this book. So I purchased this book at the end of December, after Christmas, between New Year, that weird period of life. And this book is a Greek myth retelling. It is the retelling of the Trojan War from the perspective of Briseis, who was the bed slave of Achilles. And I say retelling of the Trojan War, and it's just the Trojan War but from her perspective. I don't know if that's actually what counts as a retelling, but yeah, it's from her perspective, and it's just about, I guess, diving deeper into the women who were taken from Troy and made to become slaves for the Greeks. Like I said, I've already done a review on it, so I will just link that video up here for you or down below. But I think I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars or something like that. The next book I'm going to speak about is Chavs, The Demonization of the Working Class by Owen Jones. I actually borrowed this from my friend. I have wanted to read this for such a long time. Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts has always been sort of talking about this, and I guess like towards the second half of the year she started talking about it a bit more. I just really wanted to read it, and when I went home for Christmas my friend actually had it, so I have borrowed it from her, soon to be returned whenever I return to London. And I haven't really finished this book, so I just don't want to talk about the book rather than talk about my thoughts rather than what the book is about. This book is about the term chavs, how that term came about, and then how through this sort of terminology that we sort of use for the working class and we sort of laugh about, how that has also played into the demonization of the working class. So it's very interesting. It's not just obviously about the word chav and how the chavs come about. That is legit just the first chapter, but it's obviously feeding onto the subtitle in this, which is the demonization of the working class, and it is phenomenal. It is such an interesting book for me to see as someone who has been aware of politics, and obviously as I've gotten older I've gotten more involved and more having the ability and also the interest to read more about policies myself and just look deeper into parties, because politics was something that wasn't heavily talked about in my house. It kind of was, oh, you vote for Labour, but it was never a case of why. Reading this book was just so eye-opening. It was eye-opening in the sense of talking about, you know, how the working class had demonised, how Margaret Thatcher coming into power really dismantled the working class jobs and sort of industries that they were, sort of that sort of factory working stuff that was very prevalent in the north towards, the north of England, and obviously in Scotland. I was very much aware of Margaret Thatcher and that people didn't like her, but it was so good to find out more about why and what actually happened. But yeah, talking about the demonisation of the working class, but then also talking about Labour and the struggles of Labour and this sort of like old Labour and new Labour. This was just a very insightful book. This was published in, I think I'm going to say 2017, 2011. And I still think it's really relevant and prevalent today. So it was a book I thoroughly enjoyed. And yes, if you're in any way interested about the working class people in Britain, I would thoroughly recommend you pick this up. The next book I'm going to talk about is actually a poetry collection. This is called Cain, and it's by Kennard, and it says penned in the margins. This was a Christmas present, and it says here, the year is 2016 and Luke Kennard finds himself estranged from his family, his publisher and his faith. With the help of his community psychiatric nurse, who claims to be the living embodiment of Cain, the first murderer, the poet changes his name to Father K and searches for answers. In his childhood, in poetry and alcohol, and a notorious long-running DVD box set. I wonder if that box set is Lucifer. Essentially, this is a poetry collection. It says, in a series of animated conversation, Cain provides therapy sessions for the author, covering everything from interfaith dialogue and genealogy to zombies. Cain's central sequence of 31 anagram poems re-energizes Genesis 4:9-12, demonstrating the mastery of form and trademarks real humour that has made Kennard one of British poetry's brightest light. I think one of the things I liked about this poetry collection when I opened it up, and it's probably what drew my friend to picking it up, was the form that it's in. So you get pages like this. Oh, I don't know if you can actually see that against the light. Let's see if that shows up any better. You get pages like that, so it's obviously written in a very interesting way. And yeah, I mean, actual topic sounds very interesting, not something I would have picked up on my own, so definitely glad to have had it as a present. The next 3 books I'm going to speak about are Audible purchases. I had some free credits from Amazon, so yeah, I used them to purchase some audiobooks. The first one I'm going to speak about is Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I have already done a review on this, so I will link that up here and down below. So I listened to this and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I've already done a full review on it, but this book basically covers why we as humans sleep, why we need to sleep, sort of the benefits of sleep, the negative side effects of not getting any sleep. It talks about sleep in terms of society, so early sort of wake up times for school, for work. It talks about sleep and uses a method for torture. I mean, it is talked about very briefly, but it talks about sleep in such a wide context. I have seen some reviews about this book from people who are in that sort of science world. They're talking about some studies that he admits and stuff like that. I don't know about any of that because I'm just your common, like, normal person with no scientific background. But it was very insightful for, I guess, the average reader. And it also obviously talks about, like, sleep health and any sort of sleep conditions. It's not a case of diagnosing you with a sleep condition and then it being able to sort of help you do that. There are probably other books out there, but it just very widely talks about all the different sleep conditions that exist, and I just found it very insightful. It was very useful to me personally, and generally very interesting facts about sleep, and just basically get some sleep, everyone. But it was definitely a purchase. I say a purchase, a free credit well used. The other book that I used my credit to buy was To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. I was recommended some of her novels last year when I asked for my sort of sci-fi recommendations, and I can actually just see out of the corner of my eye on the shelf. My boyfriend has all 3 of the books, but this book that I've purchased here is one of her novellas, and I thought maybe that would just be a better introduction to her, to seeing if I sort of like her writing, or, you know, the actual type of things that she writes about. I imagine this novella is quite different from what the series is actually about. But To Be Taught If Fortunate, I'm going to read what it's about. Becky Chambers imagines a future in which, instead of terraforming planets to sustain human life, explorers of the solar system instead transform themselves. I think this says Ariadne is one such explorer. As an astronaut on an extrasolar research vessel, she and her fellow crewmates sleep between worlds and wake up each time with different features. Her experience is one of fluid body and stable mind, and of a unique perspective of the passages of time. Back on Earth, society changes dramatically from decade to decade, as it always does. So I think this book sounds brilliant because it says society changes from decade to decade, so when they wake up they may completely find that, like, their research project has been completely cancelled, or that, I don't know, that society is just completely different to what they were last time. So I'm very much interested to see, like, how this is executed. Usually I'm going to be interested in something like this. This is why I wanted to read more sci-fi, to just sort of broaden my interest and my horizons. So yeah, usually I would read the concept of this and be like, that sounds boring. But since reading more sci-fi last year, I'm kind of more open to this. I want to see where she goes with this. I think perhaps something like this would then maybe inform my thoughts on whether or not I want to start the series. It could be completely different, but yes, this book sounds really good. The next book that I picked up is one that I think everyone will know, which is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I think it's the Sorcerer's Stone in the UK. Maybe Philosopher's is the American version. I don't know. The version that I have says the Philosopher's Stone. And this is obviously the first Harry Potter book. Goodness gracious me. I do remember reading Harry Potter, but I don't think I have such clear thoughts as a lot of people do. I remember reading Harry Potter in the midst of reading other books, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't find any cons about it. I wasn't particularly really drawn to it, and honestly, as the books got more popular and the series went on, not even for, you know, like, oh, I'm not into the hype. Honestly, people were waiting outside bookshops and stuff like that. I wasn't that interested in the story to be waiting outside bookshops. I am pretty sure I skipped like one of the books and then I read the final book, because as much as I was interested in the story, I didn't care that much, and there were obviously like long waiting times in between them, and there were tons of other books to read. But yes, I would love to listen to it on audiobook. I haven't started listening to it yet, and I just think it's kind of going to make you feel like a child again. Like, I don't know how people feel about Harry Potter on my channel, but I really enjoyed Harry Potter. I enjoyed some of the films again. I think the last 2 films I could do without. Like, the films to me weren't very interesting, but I'm not a film person. I just generally don't tend to enjoy films, and especially films. The books that I read, I don't tend to enjoy them, and yeah, I don't like waiting for things. I think that's also my problem. Obviously, if you don't know what Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is about, it's the first book in the series of Harry Potter. So this is where, you know, Harry basically finds out he's a wizard, goes to Hogwarts, explores all sorts of life, meets, what's her name, Hermione and I want to say Rob. Is that his name? Wow, I'm terrible. You can tell that I just haven't like read Harry Potter for ages. What is his name? I know in real life his name is like Rupert. What is his name? Right, his name is Ron Weasley, yeah, but he meets him. So yeah, and I guess it's obviously that intro bit where he's sitting at home miserable and he's a boy underneath the cupboard stairs, which is, you know, akin to abuse. The next book I'm going to speak about is An Unquiet Mind, a memoir of moods and madness by Redfield Jamison. So I have actually already filmed this video before. I CBA. Actually, I didn't like it when I went to edit it, but also my battery cut out and then I got a phone call. So then I just didn't film the rest of the book haul. But I remember reading the back of this and thinking, I did not know that this is what this was about. This has been on my like Amazon basket for, I would say, a good 5 years. Like I'm not joking, a good 5 years. So I was ordering something in January and I just decided that I would pick up a book, because even though I was like, please don't spend any more money on books, I was just like, oh, one book won't hurt. So I'm just gonna read the back of the book briefly. It says, Dr. Redfield Jamison is one of the foremost authorities on manic depression. She also experienced it firsthand, because even while she was pursuing her career in medicine, she was affected by the same exhilarating highs and catastrophic lows that afflicted many of her patients. Examining manic depression from the side of both doctor and patient, both healer and the healed, An Unquiet Mind is a memoir of enormous candor, courage, wit and wisdom. I have actually started now reading this book, but I don't actually have any thoughts so far. I remember looking at one of the reviews. I don't know why now, lately, I'm drawn to looking at the reviews of the books that I'm reading, whereas before I just didn't care. But a lot of people are talking about the fact that she's very wealthy and privileged, so it allows her to, I don't know, not have, I guess, the same sort of, the effects of her condition still the same, I suppose, but the effect on her life, that if she was, you know, to stop working, or the privilege that she has in life, basically affects like how some people view this book, and things like that. But yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on it, but I was surprised to find out that this is what this book was about. I actually thought it was more a book on the topic of depression. I didn't know it was about manic depression. The next book I'm going to speak about is Poirot Investigates, which contains 3 short stories about Poirot. As you know, I've been on a bit of a Poirot binge. I have taken a break, and I had been consuming them via script, so I've been listening to them as an audiobook. But the only other one that I'd read before, like, you know, physically, was the ABC Murderers. So this contains the stories The Mystery of Hunter's Lodge, The Kidnapped Prime Minister, and The Case of the Missing Will. I think I already know the stories of the last 2, because I have watched them as the ITV adaptations. The first one doesn't ring a bell to me, so I'm intrigued. But yes, in case you're not aware, most of Agatha Christie's novels are just detective stories. Poirot is our main detective on this, and sometimes he has his sidekick Hastings, and he solves crimes. So The Mystery of Hunter's Lodge: in a shooting box on a bleak day in Derbyshire, moors, a man is killed and Poirot solves the crime 150 miles away. The Kidnapped Prime Minister: first an attempted assassination, then the kidnapping, and Scotland Yard had to call Poirot to find him. This is so funny to me how these blurbs are written, because knowing the story, I'm like, yeah, they did, but it makes Poirot seem like such a superhero. Like, he's more friends with someone in Scotland Yard, and they're like, oh, come on, do you know what I mean? But anyway, The Case of the Missing Will: Andrew Marsh's niece has a puzzle to solve before she could inherit her uncle's estate, so she called Poirot to her aid, ... So yeah, the blurb doesn't really give away that much, but yeah, 3 short stories, and if the 2 that I have actually seen anything to go by, it'll be good, they'll be alright. There'll be crimes you can solve by reading the book and just picking up on some of the clues. Another book I'm going to speak about is You Are a Badass: How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Sincero. I have seen this book around a lot recently, so I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, to find out that this book published in America in 2013 and then published in Great Britain in 2016. And in 2020, just to really hit that off the wall, in 2020, I feel like this book is still super popular. I've already finished reading this book. I think I still gave it a 3 out of 5. And as you know, one of my 2020 reading goals is to read a lot more like self-helpy books. But basically, this book is split into, it says here, 27 bite-sized chapters full of hilariously inspiring stories, sage advice and easy exercises, helping you to identify and change the self-sabotaging beliefs and behaviours that stop you from getting what you want, create a life you totally love and create it now, make some damn money already, the kind you've never made before, that last bullet point, I would say no. There is no like advice in there for like actually making money other than, you know, like get a better job and stuff like that. But I feel like that bullet point is very redundant, especially because she goes on to have like a series of other books, and one of them is specifically about making money. This one, no, don't read this book if you think you're going to make money. I enjoyed this book. I thought its advice was just a bit null and void, have read in other books. But that is what this book is about. If you want to read something that's kind of, I feel like it's very like American, very perky, very, you can, you know, American dream sort of stuff. It's very much that. So, you know, if you're interested in that type of stuff, definitely pick this up. If you're interested in just reading it and, you know, using a steady head, you can also read this. Just don't fall for the hype. So the last couple of books I'm going to talk about are NetGalley releases. The first one I'm going to talk about is Happy Ever After. I have actually already finished reading this. This is a thriller book, and it is concerning a character named Naomi who has moved to this, I don't know, seaside town in the UK or something like that, and she's feeling kind of lonely, and she's just had her first child and she wants another child. She's like basically pressuring her husband into them having another child, because the only reason for this is because she doesn't want to grow up, she doesn't want her kid to grow up as an only child like she grew up as an only child. You know, but she's basing this on the fact that, you know, she didn't like it, and also now as a result of that she must put her own family or her own husband through turmoil. Anyway, she has an incident, I guess, with another parent at the nursery that her daughter goes to, and from there the rest of the story unravels. I haven't filmed my recent reads talking about this book, but I mean, please watch it when I do, because this book had me in all sorts of like, it was a thriller indeed in the sense it had me turning the page, but this book was wild. It was wild. But, you know, I don't want to spoil the book for anyone, and that is what the book is about. An incident happens between her and this other parent, and from there everything unravels, and you kind of find out that things are not as they should be, and some very creepy things are happening. The next book I'm going to talk about is Wintering. Again, this is a book that I have just recently finished. This is like sort of part memoir, part essay collection centered around the theme of winter and wintering, that sort of frozenness, that sort of bleakness, but the sort of good that can come from that, and the sort of, I don't know, good that can come from hibernating. So it is, yeah, I would say some essay collections. They're sort of divided across like September, October, November, December, January, and whilst in those months they're then broken down into further different essays. So some are titled like Epiphany, Darkness, and they just relate to different things in the author's life. So one of it's to do with her son, pulling her son out of school, and that sort of winter that they spent just getting him back to the boy that he used to be. There's a talk of going swimming in ice cold water, so that you really get that sort of theme coming through of winter. There are just so many things. There's a talk of Finland, her friend who is Finnish, and talking about like what they do in Finland when it gets really cold and when it gets really dark. So it's a matter of relating these personal essays to things that are like obviously directly associated with winter, but then also there's a bit of historical context in there, talking about like sort of the festivals around Christmas that are quite prominent in like, I guess, Finland and other European countries, but then also talking about the sort of background and history and things like Halloween. It was a very interesting book and I very much liked it. Another book that I'm going to speak about is You Can't Catch Me. This is a book basically where a character named Jessica Williams meets another character named Jessica Williams, and then she finds that her money is stolen, and basically goes on the hunt, recruiting other people by the name Jessica Williams to go and get her money back from this woman, because it has happened to other people who are also called Jessica Williams. This book is a wild ride. It's a wild ride because the fact that someone would go after someone after they've done that is wild in its case, but you know, go you, like you want your money back. But the other things that happen after are wild, and then the twist that happens is also wild. But essentially, I can't ruin the book for you, but all I can tell you is that yes, once her money is stolen, she is determined to get that money back. You know, nothing is going to get in her way of getting that money back. And yeah, it's an interesting journey if you want to read it. So that is it for this book haul. Actually, looking back at that list, I only purchased 3 of those books. The rest have, you know, either been borrowed and NetGalley releases, I don't know, the Audible credits I bought. So I'm feeling quite proud of myself actually. And yeah, there are some other books that I have read like during the course of the year, like, you know, in the past 6 months even, I say that I haven't put on here because I probably like reviewed them already, or just, yeah, I probably forgot. But those are the majority of the books that I have purchased. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you're intrigued about any of the books that I've mentioned. I might have already read some of them, so I can probably give you like some deeper insight into them. But that is it from me, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!